It's time for another nostalgic hero to get reimagined for the 21st century. This time it's Earth's greatest protector, Captain Planet, along with his Planeteers that get revamped for the modern age. This is Captain Planet number 1. Hello there, Geek Collective, and welcome to Geeks Plus Comics, where we are more than just your average geek. And I am super excited for today's review as we are checking out Captain Planet number 1, coming from Dynamite Entertainment. I have been waiting so excitedly with bated breath for this comic to come out. You see, we've covered a lot of nostalgic comics, or a lot of nostalgic characters at least, who have been given revamps for the 21st century. I'll put a little link up in the corner. You can go see the stuff that we've talked about so far, but we have seen comics coming out for Space Ghost, Flash Gordon, Defenders of the Earth. We've seen Gatchaman, all getting revamps for the 21st century with brand new comics that have all came out just within the last year or so. So this is the latest in a long line of characters from the 80s and 90s getting those revamps. And it is, of course, Captain Planet and the Planeteers. I've got to admit I'm more excited about this one than I was the others. You see, I'd heard of Space Ghost and I'd heard of Flash Gordon. I've seen those characters, I've seen their clips of their shows, but I never grew up as massive fans of them. I became fans of Space Ghost and Flash Gordon, especially since their comics started releasing, and I started to get to know the characters, started to understand the world. But this is the first real nostalgic property where I'm looking at it and I'm like, that was something I grew up with. I was a fan of Captain Planet. I grew up watching the cartoon show obsessively. I grew up wanting the toys. I grew up wanting to play the video game. I grew up obsessed with this show. This was one of my properties as a kid. So I was super excited when I found out that we were going to be getting a brand new comic of Captain Planet. And not only that, but getting a brand new comic of Captain Planet from a good friend of the channel, David Pepose, who we've gotten to talk to about other nostalgic properties, such as the Space Ghost series that he was writing for Dynamite Entertainment. He is now tackling Captain Planet. So I am super excited to be delving into this. But for any of you who are watching this and might not know who Captain Planet is, although I imagine most of you know at least the very basics of it, but for anyone who doesn't know, Captain Planet and the Planeteers, along with the sequel series, The New Adventures of Captain Planet, ran from 1990 to 1996. The series was created by Barbara Powell and Ted Turner, and it ran on a number of networks, with reruns of the show still showing on channels to this day. And the franchise went on to spawn toys, comic books, video games, and even a public charity. The basic premise is, our world is in peril. Gaia, the spirit of the earth, can no longer stand the terrible destruction plaguing our planet. She sends 5 magic rings to 5 special young people, representing earth, wind, fire, water, and heart. When the 5 powers combine, they summon Earth's greatest champion, Captain Planet. Since then, Captain Planet has still permeated pop culture, and you've likely seen references to the 5 powers combining, to Captain Planet, to some sort of ecological hero and eco-warfare throughout pop culture's TV shows, movies, songs, comics, books. He has permeated so much in society that you have undoubtedly seen the concept. But in terms of Captain Planet himself, it's been a long time since we've had something brand new from Captain Planet and the Planeteers. So what awaits us as we jump from this 90s hero and take him into the 21st century? Well, let's jump on in and find out. But before we do that, very quickly, if you are enjoying the content here and liking what you see, please head on down, hit that subscribe button and hit the like button, as it really does help us grow in the algorithm here on YouTube. And we are close to hitting 200 subs, which seems really tiny and insurmountable, but every one of the subs here we greatly appreciate and love all of you for supporting and continuing to watch the videos here on the channel. Also as well, we are of course sponsors or affiliates with BCW Supplies, who, if you're a comic book collector, you know who BCW are. They are providers of bags, boards, long boxes, dividers, folders, everything that you need for storing, collecting and displaying all of your collectibles. We are of course affiliates with them, and you can go ahead and use our link down below to go ahead and check out their website and use code GEEKS+ at checkout to save yourself 10% on all purchases. But with all the YouTubey stuff out of the road, let's go ahead and jump on in. This is Captain Planet number 1. Captain Planet number 1 is written by David Pepose. Artwork is by Eman Casallos. Colours are from Jorge Sutil, with lettering from Jeff Eckleberry. Our issue begins on Hope Island, with a cloaked figure fleeing a temple and heading to the woods. We see that they are being pursued by a mercenary team. We don't know why they are pursuing them, just that they seem intent on not letting them escape. The mercenaries are coordinating with each other, and no sooner has a perimeter breach been reported than one of the mercenaries spots the figure and fires tranquilizers to try and take them down. However, the shots do not land, as all of a sudden they are blocked by a wall of water, and we see a small blue light emanating from the figure's hand. The soldiers report the shots missed, but before they can say anything else, they are grabbed by branches from a nearby tree. Unfortunately, this doesn't even buy the cloaked figure time, as 3 helicopters are bearing down on them with spotlights pointed in their direction. And as their hood is blown off, we get our first look at the face behind the hood. A woman known as Gaia. As Gaia tries to tell them they don't know what's at stake, and as it falls on deaf ears, she decides to see if the legends are true and unleashes the power of the 5 rings that she wears on her hand. As she unleashes the powers of earth, fire, wind, water and heart, before Gaia's very eyes they form into the being, the hero known as Captain Planet. As the mercenaries try to regroup and reassess a new player on the battlefield, Captain Planet swoops down and picks up Gaia, flying as fast as he can away from the mercenaries. Captain Planet says that it's been a long time since he was last summoned, and guesses that Gaia is the new High Priestess of the Earth. She confirms that she is and introduces herself, while being in total shock as she didn't think that Captain Planet was actually real. He confirms to her that he is in fact real, and tells her not to worry. He hasn't lost a fight since the Cretaceous period, and doesn't plan on starting now. The Merc's instruments and the helicopters are going haywire just from Captain Planet's presence, as they desperately try to adapt. He says that some things never change. The cruel always think they can threaten people smaller than them, but they never stop to think of what might happen when somebody else fights back. His body lets off electricity and the helicopters crash into nearby trees. Gaia is concerned for the men, but Captain Planet says not to worry. For if nothing else, he holds it sacred that no one dies. Unfortunately, there's another helicopter, which has the mercenaries' leader, Argos Bleak, aboard. He fires depleted uranium rounds and blasts Captain Planet in the back with them. Captain Planet recoils from the shots and falls out of the sky. He crashes to the ground but manages to protect Gaia. And as his essence returns to the rings, he tells Gaia that she needs to run. she chooses instead to fire the rings off so that they do not get into the wrong hands. Bleak finds her and hits her with the butt of his gun, knocking her out, and reports to his employer. He tells them that they successfully captured Gaia, but unfortunately, the rings are nowhere to be seen. As the 5 rings split and spread across the world, we make our first stop in Ghana. We find a young man, Kwame, taking a break from making deliveries with his Uncle Ebo to catch up on the latest news of Ashanti United, his favourite football team, or soccer team for our American listeners. As Uncle Ebo calls Kwame back to the truck, we learn that Kwame is not only a fan of Ashanti United, but actually used to play with them. We learn that he injured his knee and see him wearing a knee brace and walking with the aid of a stick that he is using like a cane or a staff. But we don't learn if the injury is something short term or if it's something a lot more serious. As they're getting into the truck, they feel the ground shaking beneath their feet. Kwame asks if it's an earthquake, but his uncle tells him that it's so much worse, as it's caused damage to the dam and is about to collapse. A massive tidal wave washes over the land and makes its way towards the village. Kwame is concerned for the villagers, but his uncle tells him that it's too late and they have to keep moving. As the water gains on them, Gaia's earth ring finds its way to Kwame, and before he knows what's happening, a massive tree has sprouted from the ground and lifted up his uncle's truck and all of the people that were near them. Uncle Ebo has no other word for what he saw, except to call it a miracle. From there, we make our way to Detroit, Michigan in the USA. The evening sky is being lit up from a chemical fire that is currently ablaze in the Coburn automotive plant. The scene is utter chaos between the raging inferno that the firefighters are trying to get under control and a group of protesters of the recent series of controversial layoffs from the automotive plant itself due to their new green tech initiative. While the firefighters argue with the protesters as they're getting in the way and stopping them from doing their job, a massive explosion takes place at the plant, seemingly incinerating any survivors that may have still been alive inside. However, moments later, a young man named James Wheeler makes his way through the fire, aiding another worker out of the blaze and to get much needed medical attention. As he is told that he must have someone up there looking out for him, he looks down to his hand where we see he is wearing Gaia's fire ring. In Russia, in an abandoned building, a group of teens are holding a concert listening to the band The Burned Earth Brigade, who are all performing in ski masks to hide their identity. While the concert continues, one of the doors to the impromptu venue is kicked open by Russian police, stating that they are all under arrest for trespassing and disturbing the peace. The lead singer pulls back her hand and tells them that they should have just left them alone as they were all having such a good time, before unleashing a massive burst of wind using Gaia's wind ring, which picks up all of the police and throws them through the front door and onto the front lawn of the property. The lead singer then removes her mask and tells them that if they've come to stir up trouble, be warned, because they just reaped the whirlwind. From an underground rock concert in Russia to the waters around South Korea, we join a science team that are taking atmospheric readings. One of the scientists, Guy, is looking at the most recent numbers, and she sees that something just isn't adding up. She asks her colleague Day if he's seen these numbers, but he's too busy asking her out on a date, which Guy quickly shoots down and has zero interest in taking him up on. But that could possibly be due to her having eyes for a different co-worker, Rin. Speaking of Rin, she comes into the room and says that if anyone finds something in the latest telemetry, then they need to name it after her. She says, "Right, Guy, after and completely throws Guy off and makes her stumble over her words in response. Unfortunately, this interaction is cut short, as the off numbers and telemetry they had just been receiving were linked to a massive storm that they currently find themselves in. Guy rushes to the deck of the ship yelling, "Follow me, let's find out what's happening." Rin and their team leader, Dr. Young Han, chase after her, trying to get her to stop, as they have no idea what's happening and how dangerous it is. On the deck, they are almost thrown overboard, but Guy pulls back her hand, saying, "Please don't let it end like this," and uses the power of Gaia's water ring to literally stop the storm. And when Rin and Dr. Young Han look up, they see a beautiful sunny sky as the backdrop for a wall of water that has been stopped dead in its tracks. Guy says that the anomalies she had been detecting were more anomalous than they had thought. Then she shoots her shot by asking Rin if she would like to discuss it further with her over coffee. Purely in the interest of science, of course. To see where Gaia's fifth ring is, we make our way to Brazil, and to a lithium mine that is in utter chaos and disarray. The mine has been totally overrun by the wildlife of the surrounding area, as production has crawled to a halt and the workers are all under attack. We hear a voiceover telling someone that they have ravaged the land for greed, including burning homes, attacking the people of Brazil, and stealing their water. We see one of the workers is pinned down by a massive jaguar, with glowing green-yellow eyes, as the worker is saying how sorry they are, and that they will leave the village immediately, just don't let the creature eat them. We then see that the worker isn't just pinned down by the jaguar, but by a boa and vulture as well. All while we see Matai, the young man that has been talking to him, standing over him, wielding Gaia's heart ring. Matai tells the worker that he and the rest of the colonizers should consider themselves lucky, as yesterday he would likely have killed them himself, but he has had a change of heart. We then see Gaia as calling out to the new wielders of the rings, in the hopes of encouraging them to take their new powers and use them to become Planeteers, protectors of the earth, and to ask them to come to New York, where she is being held, and save her. We then get the first proper look at the man that Bleak and his mercenaries had been working for, a man named Lucian Plunder, who tells Gaia that sending the rings out like she did has only delayed the inevitable. With his vast wealth and resources, it is only a matter of time before the rings are his, and then Gaia will have no choice but to share her power with all of humanity. Hey there, Geek Collective. Did you know that Geeks Plus is also on Patreon? For as little as just $2 a month, you can also support us over on Patreon and get early access to all of our YouTube videos from Geeks Plus Comics, Geeks Plus Tabletop, and Geeks Plus Gaming, as well as a whole bunch of exclusive content specifically for our supporters over on Patreon, and early access to all the behind the scenes and ongoings with the company. So if you would like to check out all of that stuff and help support what we do here at Geeks Plus, we would greatly appreciate heading over to patreon.com/geeksplusmedia and supporting us over there. But that's all from me from now. You all have a good day, and let's get back into your video. And that was Captain Planet #1 from Dynamite Entertainment. I do have to say, this was a really interesting start to a brand new series. It's definitely got a newer vibe to it. It definitely has a more modern feel, and definitely a little bit more of a mature feel to it as well, not like super mature or anything like that. But considering the original show was designed for kids, this has definitely got a little bit more of a mature feel to it. They've definitely recognised that a lot of the people that want to be checking this out are people who grew up with Captain Planet, who are people like myself, that are now here 30 years later. So they're not kids getting into it, but it's also still fully accessible to kids. It's not something that I would say I would have an issue giving my children to read. So I have enjoyed the story of it. It is definitely a first issue, and I've said this plenty of times with #1s. it's a first issue. It's absolutely a first issue. We don't get a lot of depth here. We get a hint at the villain. We get introduced to Gaia, who's been kidnapped. We get our first look at Captain Planet. But he's not really the major focus of it. And we get a very brief introduction to the Planeteers, which is really all you can kind of ask for when you're including the villain and his main mercenary, the leader of that team. You've got what, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 main characters that you've introduced in this first issue, who you want to flesh them all out, make them all interesting, well-known characters. The real test for this one is going to be as the series progresses. Is the story going to be fleshed out and properly built up, and are we going to get properly drawn into this world? This is very much like a teaser, like a taster for what's to come. But can they build upon it? Can they keep us coming back for more? Will the characters actually be intriguing? I think the one we got most kind of look at was probably Captain Planet, as he talked a little bit about his backstory, but we very briefly got the rest of the characters. We got very brief looks at the personalities of the Planeteers through their short backstories, who they only got maybe 1 or 2 pages of kind of introduction in this. So don't go into this expecting a full-blown, hey, this is what we're getting. This is absolutely a teaser of what the series is going to bring. I will say it's a good teaser though. It's a teaser that feels like, okay, this could really lead to something interesting. And biasly speaking, having talked with and gotten to know David Pepose on a number of occasions over some of his other work, including what he's done with other nostalgic properties such as Space Ghost, I definitely don't doubt that he's capable of building a story for it. I definitely don't doubt he's capable of fleshing out this story and making these characters impactful. But the truth is, only time will tell. The artwork is brilliant in this for the most part. I absolutely enjoyed most of the art that we've seen. So the artwork from Eman Casallos is absolutely great throughout most of this book. I really enjoyed it. I think he was really great at the way he approached the book, the great kind of take that he had on the characters. Some of them have slight redesign, slightly new looks. The characters have definitely, in a lot of cases, been aged up a bit. Most of them I noticed was that Gaia felt like she was a lot older. Linka felt like she was definitely had a redesign, going for a more kind of rocker chick feel to her. Wheeler definitely kind of modernized look to him. Kwame for the most part feels like he looks very similar to what he was. Gaia looks very similar. Captain Planet obviously has had a redesign, as you can see from the front cover alone. There were a couple of moments though that I felt like the art was just a little bit off for me. Like the first panel, and it really stood out to me, and I hate to say it, but the first panel that we see Captain Planet fully appear. Gaia sticks her hand up, uses the power of the rings. We see the formation of Captain Planet, and he appears fully, and he just looks a little bit awkward. I literally don't know the right Americanism to use. The Scottishism for it is he looks very glaikit, which is a very kind of blank on the eyes, just like very dough sort of face, like there's nothing going on there. His eyes also are kind of like looking off in different directions, and it's like, but yet the art for Captain Planet for the rest of the panels that he appears in does not look like that. So it is very clearly something that's just one panel. And there's also as well the first panel where we see Gaia on the South Korean ship. I don't know if it's because they've tried to draw her looking at something in this direction while drinking a coffee like that. The face looks weirdly elongated to me. It doesn't look like it's quite sitting right, like the proportions are just a little bit off. As far as the art goes, those were the only 2 parts that really stood out to me as like, oh, that's a little bit off. But overall, like, it can very much be overlooked in terms of how good the art is. For the rest of it, it's definitely, it's not the top tier best art I've ever seen in a comic, but it's definitely good art for the most part. But those were parts that definitely stood out to me, and I'd be, you know, remiss in my job if I didn't mention them. Colouring and lettering, I think, was really good in the book. Overall, I think this was a strong first issue. I think this was really well done. I think this was a great one to kick us off. And it's definitely one, if you're a fan of Captain Planet, check it out. If you're intrigued, I would highly recommend picking up the first issue for yourself, either at your local store or digitally. And give the first story arc a try. I think the first issue is a great kickoff and is definitely something that leads to more, but the next issues will determine that. So I would say tentatively pick it up with a idea to pick up issue 2, but also be aware, like, issue 2 and 3 could be a make or break for what comes next, and depending how the story is fleshed out from here. But I think that's all that I've really got to say on the book. I'm really love to see something like a nostalgic property like Captain Planet getting love again. It's definitely one with a lot of fond memories from my childhood, so there's a lot of fun to go and check out. And highly, highly recommend going and checking it out and see what you think of it for yourself. Go and check this stuff out for yourself. Like, I hope to give a good bit of input, but make your decisions on your comics as well. If you want to go for it, absolutely go for it. But I think that's all I've got for today. Thank you so much for hanging out with me for this comic review. I greatly appreciate you being here. If you are not already following the channel, if you can go and hit that sub button, we would greatly appreciate it. We are so close to 200 followers, so if you've enjoyed this, hit that like button and sub, and we would greatly love and appreciate that help, and we will see you here for our next video. But for now, that is all from me. Remember, it is a good week to be a geek. Take care. We'll see you all next time. Peace.